Hey, good morning, Digi. Boy, you really popped in early today, didn't you? Oh man, I forgot to send out the invite to Ramen. Uh, Stanky is being a pain in the neck this morning. He's been in and out now uh, 4 times since 7 o'clock in the past 2 hours. Uh, Crazy dog, crazy dog. Okay, now I'm planning on doing the hearings from yesterday of the mayors, Adams, Johnson, Johnston, and Wu on the hot seat there about illegal immigration, what it's costing their cities. But they're also doing, the House is doing is scheduled to do a vote on the resolution to censor Representative Al Green for his nonsense at the joint session of Congress the other day. You know, that it was so bad that he actually ended up being removed from the floor. He was kicked out of the office, or out of, off the floor, out of his seat for the night. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And if they do bring up that resolution, then I'm going to jump over from whatever I'm doing to the resolution. Because honestly, after what they did to, I think it was Bobart, or was it Green? And then the guy that told, all he said was, "You lie," when Obama said that his Obamacare would not cover illegals, which that definitely uh, he was definitely telling the truth. Obama was lying. But he didn't stand up. He didn't wave his cane around. Well, he didn't have a cane. And he didn't keep standing up there yelling, "You don't have a mandate. You don't have a mandate," like Green did. Going back to that, now I was at work and I didn't, so I had to work Tuesday night. So obviously I slept through the hearings because I was taking a nap before going to work. So I watched Monkey's 6 hour stream where it covered Slotton's rebuttal and then actually did Trump's hour and a half session. And the only time that entire session and that the Democrats applauded in that entire hour and a half was when Trump talked about the war going on in the Ukraine and how it could last for 5 more years. And the damn Democrats applauded that. And Trump called out Elizabeth Warren, called her Pocahontas. And the camera zipped to her real quick, and she didn't really appreciate that. But that's what that was. The Democrats didn't applaud, and the one point of that entire thing that choked me up a little. Didn't quite bring tears to my eyes. Some people said it brought tears to their eyes, but it didn't bring tears to mine, but it did choke me up. The young man who has has fought the hell out of brain cancer and has been made and has always wanted to become a police officer, and he's a honorary member of several police departments. And Trump called up the head of the Secret Service to make this young man an honorary member of the Secret Service. And the young man, I think he's 13 years old, grabbed a hold, this young child grabbed a hold of that man's neck and would not let go, just hugging the daylights out of him. And that that scene choked me up. Let me see if I can find a picture. I know there's got to be a picture of it. Uh, D, I think the kid's name was DJ Hugs, Secret Service agent. And find some images here. Click over to images. Oh, wow. I did not know this happened. This happened yesterday. And here's that image. Let me share I did not know this happened, but here's the kid. Here's that kid, DJ Daniel. The kid is giving Trump a hug in the Oval Office. I did not know that happened. But this is the one that choked me up. This kid, his dad's there wearing the Texas flag shirt, hugging the daylights out of the head of the Secret Service. I don't know what the man's name is. I don't care what the man's name is at this point right now. Now, the kid has given some interviews afterwards. He's had 13 brain surgeries. And he said that his personality has changed 13 times, once after each of the brain surgeries. And I can sort of believe that was. But the Democrats could not bring themselves to stand up and applaud this. This is about as apolitical as it could get happening in the House of Representatives during a joint session. And somebody who, calling it what it is, as divisive as Trump is, as a divisive figure as Trump is, the Democrats couldn't get up off their butts and applaud this. They had to sit there and grimace, groan, growl, frown. I just happen to think of, they're like the Grinch. The heart size is 3 sizes too small. Because how could you not, feel feel some sort of an emotion at this? It just unbelievable. And I mean, honestly, that's not the only thing that uh where is it here? That wasn't the only thing that came out on this. The That really irritated the daylights. MSNBC, they their people stood up, or one of their analysts sat there and said, this was a heart touching moment. And hopefully DJ will grow up and be able to become a member of law enforcement. And hopefully he'll never, and then she turned around to have to face and then turn around and you know have to face Trump's or a Trump like political figure and be spit upon and possibly even have a heart attack because of the action of somebody like some Republican like Trump. It's like, you absolutely cold hearted wench, to turn something as sweet and heartwarming as this into politics. It just, it just absolutely embarrasses me that anybody would do that. I'm embarrassed for the Democratic Party that not a single member of their House or Senate would stand up and applaud this. I'm absolutely embarrassed for the Democratic Party. And I hope there's enough Democrats embarrassed over this that they reconsider about who they vote for. I don't care if they vote for another Democrat. I mean, you vote for the person that most closely aligns with your political beliefs. Okay, that's the way we do things here, and that's the way it should be in this country. I don't always agree with the people on every issue with the people that I vote for, but I agree with enough of the issues. That's why I vote for them. You're right, Digi. That was disgusting. And the Democratic leadership needs to be the current Democratic leadership in the House and Senate need to be replaced. Actually, that is the old taken out to the woods behind the woodshed and taught a lesson. Hey, morning, Neil. But they need to be taken out behind the woodshed and taught a lesson because it was absolutely disgusting. But that's that was all I really wanted to say about that. I mean, 90 minutes. Trump spoke for 90 minutes. Um, Quite a few times when he was making some rather poignant points, it would just somehow manage that at that time he'd turn and look straight at the Democrats. And they did call out the Democrats and said at the beginning and said, there's absolutely nothing that he could do or say up there that'd get them to applaud, to get them to stand up and applaud. Well, he was wrong. He did get them to applaud once. Hey, Paul, good morning. He did get them to applaud once. when it talked about war and possible, and people being killed, with the unspoken thoughts behind there that could be American military involved in that war. But overall, uh, I approved of his speech. I thought he did a great job on the whole. His ratings afterwards, the polling rankings, at most of them in the high 60s, low 70s about his speech and how well he did. So that means even some Democrats, slid over and agreed with him, or at least liked his speech. So, uh, 90 minutes, that was a long speech to listen to. I will have to thank Monkey for and Jack for, because like I said, I listened to it. I had to work Tuesday night, so I caught it on Monkey's and Jack's stream, and have to give it to them for breaking it up enough to with their jokes and antics to keep it interesting. But here, oh, here it is. I did have that saved. Let me share this. This okay. Uh, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace. This is what she said. I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. That's what MSNBC critic, commentator had to say about that moment. Uh, DJ Daniels' hug, was up there. That was absolutely disgusting. It really and truly was. Okay, so what's next here? Ah, let's see. That's for afterwards. Okay, here. You mean she didn't claim nil? Yeah. Hey, afternoon, Fury. How you doing today? Now, this has come out to light. Top Trump allies are holding secret talks with Zelensky's Ukrainian opponents. As Washington ramps up its pressure on Zelensky to step aside, his rivals are talking to Trump's team. That hairstyle she's got there, that's straight out of the 1950s there, that 1950s and 60s, that professional, the woman that knew she was good looking but wanted to be seen as professional. The senior Trump allies, I'll talk to the Ukrainian opposition leader, Yulia Taranchenko, a remorselessly ambitious former prime minister. Okay. Four senior members of Donald Trump's entourage have held secret discussions with some of Kiev's top political opponents to Zelensky. The senior Trump allies held talks with Ukrainian opposition leader Tymoshenko and members of the party of Petro Poroshenko, the immediate former president, and three Ukrainian parliamentarians and a U.S. Republican foreign policy expert. Discussions have centered on whether Ukraine should hold quick presidential elections. These are being delayed in line with the country's constitution because Ukraine remains under martial law. So Trump is talking to people that want to replace Zelensky. That's interesting. So, okay, for the guys that just popped in, the House is expected to vote on a resolution to censor Representative Al Green, the guy that interrupted Trump's speech the other night. And if he does, I'm going to cut away over to that so that we can catch that live. You're right. She is definitely a POS for saying that, Neil. Uh, Speaking of which, they're voting now. Oh, they're just going straight to a vote. They're not even doing any speeches about it. Well, it's going straight along party lines right now. We'll we'll keep an eye on this and see how this goes because it's zipping right along pretty quick. They're over halfway done with the votes. It'll pass. I doubt if any. There may be a couple Republicans though that vote nay. Let's see how this goes. So they're at 240 some, 250, 270. Yeah, this is going to pass. Al Green is going to get censored. You know, Fury, I think you're right. Um, well, remember, Al Green's the one that he brought most of the uh, impeachment against Trump. He was behind most of them. If I remember right, He's the one that before Trump was even in office, before he was even sworn in, said he was going to file impeachment paperwork against him. So he absolutely detests Trump. There's no two ways about it. He absolutely detests Trump. And he's disliked him since even before he won the election. I don't know why there's such a personal animus against him, but it's definitely there. Now, when they do censor him and they call him down and make him stand in the well, and while they read the censor paperwork against him, I'm going to play that back. I'd love to do it live. Oh, one Democrat voted to censor. Ooh. So officially and technically, there's two. This is a bipartisan censoring of him because there's two Democrats that have voted for him. I wonder who those two Democrats are. And two Democrats have voted present. So there's four Democrats that are not voting nay. Oh, Al Green has split their party. It's called a minor rift in their party. That's interesting. I definitely didn't expect any of them to vote present. So that's do Gabbard and RFK count as Democrats? Yes. At least in my opinion, they do. Oh, four Democrats have now voted for it. Why are there 22 Republicans that haven't voted yet? Okay, there's now six Democrats have voted for. Seven Democrats have voted for the censoring. Oh, this is getting good. There's still 29 left there that can to vote. Yeah, really? Well, that's something else. All right, now we're up to 8 Democrats. Still two voting present, not voting for it. See, I never count all these chickens because there's those Republicans that are, they're rhinos in the House, and until it gets to a mathematical impossibility, which is getting closer to. Yeah, okay, it's now a mathematical impossibility uh, for the censoring not to go through. So Al Green will be censored on the House floor. Yeah, Rhino, Republican in name only. They run as Republicans. It's like what's her name out of Vermont over in the Senate. She or Murkowski out of Alaska. They're registered Republicans. Snow is who I'm thinking of, and they're Republicans. They run as Republicans on less than half the. I mean, when when they really
On this
need the
vote, the yeas are
Republicans to stand together as a party,
224.
you
The
can
nays
guarantee
are
they won't vote with the
198,
Republicans.
with 2 answering present. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. Shh. Will Representative Green present himself to the well?
Okay, they are going to do this now.
By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker.
Look at all them Democrats standing with him. That's them waving the cane. What are they saying?
The House will come to order. The House will come to order.
Oh, it's just a slap on the
The
wrist,
House will come to order.
Fury.
Clear the well, please. Clear the well. The House has to continue its business.
That is the punishment, saying they've been censored. That's the end of it.
Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the House will stand in recess subject to the call of the chair.
Yeah, it's just okay. Uh, House censoring is a formal public reprimand by the House of Representatives to punish misconduct. It is a way of expressing disapproval and condemnation of a member's actions or behavior. The censored member must stand in the House floor and listen to the resolution that details his or her offenses. House censure is rare and humiliating sanction. It does not affect the member's seat or voting rights. So, I mean, it's basically you just stand there and you do, and you know, you were a bad boy. That's all it does. It proclaims you to be a bad boy. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see if I can get this video to play. Nope. I'm not being okay. I'm not getting that video to play at all here, so that's no problem. Okay, 23. All right, so let's go to the main thing that we were going to talk about, or I was wanting to talk about. No, they don't have to miss anything, Fury. It's not like uh, when they had their words taken down during a House hearing or debate. This happened the other day. A Democrat sat there and called Trump a grifter in chief several times during a hearing, and then he referred to Elon Musk as president. Well, after he refused to apologize for the name calling of the president, which is against House rules, they struck everything he had to say from the record for that day, and he was not allowed to say anything or vote on anything for the rest of that session. And I mean, that happens on occasion. It doesn't happen off a lot, but it does happen. Bobart, it happened to Bobart, or was it MTG? It happened to either Bobart or Green a couple of times last year. So, but that's totally different from, that's actually more strict than being censored. Well, you got there, Fury. Uh, I just saw a second of it before it jumped to a commercial for. Uh, okay, from the life of Brian. Yeah. Okay, come back over to here. No, I'm getting this from C-SPAN. Well, yesterday, uh, they had, let's see, Adams from New York, Johnston from Chicago, Wu from Boston, and Johnson from Denver. These are the four mayors in front of the House, questioning them about about what they do, because these are all sanctuary cities, and questioning them about their activities and how much it costs their taxpayers and such. And there's some pretty hostile moments throughout this thing. So I figured we'd go ahead and play this.
The committee will come back to order. A chair recognizes Ms. Lee from Pennsylvania for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've heard a lot of accusations and sensationalism thrown around here today, which is not new for this.
Oh, wait a second. Am I playing the wrong one? Yeah, I thought this was part one.
Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant is super helpful because it allows me to weed through everything that I don't need and get to what is inspiring. And it's asking it certain questions, and then you have something that you can build on and then come out with like completely new ideas.
Democratic mayors of Boston, Chicago, Denver, and New York testified on Capitol Hill.
Colorado, Evans of Colorado, Van Dyne of Texas, Ocasio-Cortez of New York, Gillen of New York, and Davis of Illinois be waived onto today's hearing for the purpose of asking questions. Without objection, so ordered. And now, before we introduce the witnesses, I recognize Mr. Higgins from Louisiana for 20 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the ranking member as well. Just to briefly Respectfully recognize the presence of the family of Wesley Haynes, a constituent. I'll speak to his case in my time, Mr. Chairman. But his parents, Patrick and Kathy, his wife, Olivia, his little brother, Brady, are present today, and they have a hard exit soon. Their 4-month-old daughter, Anne Marie, is waiting at home for Olivia to care for. And I just respectfully acknowledge their presence, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Ranking Member. We will discuss the details of their case. They tragically lost Wesley Haynes last year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to recognize this beautiful American family.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. I'm very pleased today to welcome our outstanding witness panel, the mayors of 4 major American cities. First, we have Mayor Eric Adams, who's the outstanding mayor of New York City. He was sworn into office on January 1st, 2022. We have Mayor Mike Johnson, the
Okay, Fury,
mayor
okay,
of the
Dizzy,
city
you have
and
a good
county of
day.
Denver.
Thanks for
He was sworn
stopping
into
by.
office on July 17th, 2023. I now recognize Representative Krista Morte from Illinois for 1 minute to introduce our next witness.
Mr. Chair, I'm pleased to introduce Brandon Johnson, mayor of the greatest city in the world, namely Chicago, a city that was built by generations of immigrants, people
Yeah.
like my parents and myself. Mayor Johnson was raised in Elgin, Illinois, which I'm proud to represent in Congress.
Get down here to some of the questionings. Here we go.
Warrant from the federal government. Our local law enforcement repeatedly collaborates with access to healthcare by opening 3 mental health centers and focus on getting our young people well-paying jobs, with summer jobs increasing by 45% since I've taken office. Our local partnerships have built a solid foundation, a better, stronger, and a much safer Chicago. We need this body's support for these efforts. We are ready to partner with you on the measures we know promote trust and create sustainable public safety. And to the people of Chicago, and all hardworking people across this great nation, these values are our North Star, the drinking gourd we follow to a better future. We will not live
Now,
in fear.
you know
It is
somebody
not
else
our
wrote this
portion. We will
nonsense
not
for
go
him.
back. I do look forward to answering the questions of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize Boston Mayor Wu for her opening statement.
I'm not going to listen to her opening statement. There we go. Let's.
Of vetted immigrants be stripped of lawful status and deported. He is even attempting to deport the U.S.-born children of
Get to the actual
The
question.
city also stated that federal immigration
Here we go.
authorities shall not be granted access or allowed to use the secure areas of any city or county jail. Mayor Johnson, is Denver a sanctuary city?
A lot of folks use that term.
Yes or no?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Folks use that term differently. I can tell you what Denver does. We do not.
Okay, I take that as a yes. Mayor Johnson, no, yes or no? I take that as a yes. Mayor Johnson, on March 10th, 2023, you posted on X that Chicago must lead and live by the promise to be a sanctuary city. Is Chicago a sanctuary city?
A 40-year policy of being a welcoming city.
Yes.
A 40-year
I take
policy
that
of a
as
welcoming
yes.
city.
Mayor Wu, in November 2024, you gave an interview noting that you served on the city council a decade ago when the Boston Trust Act was first passed. You said in that interview that in terms of Boston's policy, there is a prohibition on resources and personnel going to enforce civil immigration detainers, meaning Boston police and other departments cannot cooperate with ICE when it comes to detaining on civil warrants. Mayor, is Boston a sanctuary city?
Boston is a safe city.
I take that as a yes. And Mayor Adams, on November 12th, 2024, you said, quote, "This is a sanctuary city," but I must comment that you have, of the witnesses today of the major cities, you have publicly stated that you were willing to work with ICE on detaining the most criminal illegals, and I want to publicly thank you for that. But my question to you, sir, is New York City a sanctuary city?
Based on our classification, yes.
Okay. Last year in a Boston suburb.
All right, now As always, these guys here, when they're trying to answer these questions, they're all going to, it's typical. They're going to try to run the clock out. And by trying to run the clock out, that means they're not going to answer the question straight up. They're going to sit there and they're going to, you said yes or no. Well, we do this. Well, no, I'm asking for a yes or no answer. We'll see a lot of that because that happens a lot during these things.
An illegal alien raped and impregnated his 14-year-old daughter while living in a shelter for illegal aliens. Mayor Wu, under Boston law, would you turn this criminal over to ICE on a detainer?
Whenever there's a criminal warrant, Boston police enforce that and hold people accountable.
So would you turn that criminal over to ICE?
This happened outside the city of Boston, but I can tell you in the city, whenever someone commits a crime, whenever there's a criminal warrant, we hold them accountable. If ICE deems that they are dangerous enough,
You see what I mean by
to
they don't
hold,
answer the
obtain
question?
a criminal warrant, and the Boston police will enforce it.
Will you turn that criminal over to ICE?
We follow the laws
I
and
take
we
that
make
as a no.
sure that everyone.
In Chicago, an illegal alien who is a suspected member of a violent foreign gang who was brought into custody for his potential involvement in a murder. He was released when Cook County declined to press charges. This illegal alien is also facing charges for kidnapping and sexually assaulting his former girlfriend last year. Now he's on the streets. Mayor Johnson, under Chicago law, would you turn this criminal over to ICE on a detainer?
Our local law enforcement works hard every day to get criminals off the streets of Chicago.
Would you turn that criminal over to ICE? That's the problem. That's one of the topics of this conversation. That's one of the problems we've heard from Tom Hammond and from the Homeland Security is that in your cities, when someone's apprehended for a crime and ICE is now with this new federal policy wanting to come in and deport the criminal alien, that you will not cooperate with ICE. Will you turn that criminal over to ICE?
And we do not harbor criminals. Our local police department works hard every single day to ensure that the city of Chicago.
And once again, he does not answer the question.
Yes or no? Will you turn the criminal over to ICE?
With a criminal warrant from the federal government, our local law enforcement.
With a criminal warrant. They're asking about a civil warrant.
Repeatedly collaborates with federal agents.
So you're saying publicly today, you will turn that alien over to ICE in a safe place like a jail and not turn him out on the street and say, here you go, ICE, good luck. You will turn that criminal over to ICE.
With a criminal warrant, as we have done for 40 years.
Should that criminal be turned over to ICE?
With a criminal warrant, they are subject to the federal laws, and that includes deportation.
My time has expired, but again, the point that we've got to iron out today is that we have to have cooperation. It is federal law to turn over those illegal criminals to ICE. And we have heard reports, and many of you have said publicly that you are going to obstruct that. That is against the law, and we're going to hear more about that today. Now,
as he said, it is against the law. Why aren't they taking, and I mean, I would arrest one of these people and prosecute them for refusing to turn over illegals to ICE. It's the law. These people got madder in hell when a couple local sheriffs, one of them being in New Mexico, said they were going to refuse to enforce a state law dealing with guns because the state law, in their opinion, violated the Second Amendment. So they were going to be a sanctuary county on gun control. And a couple governors, I'm trying to, I want to think, say New Mexico was the one I'm thinking of the most recent case. Tried taking the sheriffs to court over it. We cannot have cities, we cannot have states sit there and say that they are not going to enforce laws. Laws that have been dutifully passed by Congress as a bill, then signed into law by the president. Just because they don't believe that that law that should exist. And I don't care, y'all know I'm a huge Second Amendment fan, huge Second Amendment proponent. I'm a firm believer in the last portion of theirs, shall not be infringed. What part of shall not do you not understand? But I follow Florida law, even though I'm trying my best to get Florida law overturned when it comes to concealed carry and open carry. Because they are infringing on my right to carry my firearm. I've got to pay to get a license to carry a firearm. I think that's wrong. But I follow the law until I can get the law changed. And these cities and states that are sanctuary cities and states need to be doing the same thing. Oh, yeah, Fury. Oh, man, don't even get me started on that mess over there, Fury. You guys, I haven't had a chance to research this to see the truth behind it, but supposedly there's an American that has been arrested at Heathrow for posts that he made while in the United States about issues in the UK. And when he flew over there, he was arrested at Heathrow. Yeah, Neil, that's true. That's true. But you've got to be walking towards a body of water and you have to be licensed to fish. And I honestly, I haven't had a fishing license in 30 years, well, 20 years. I haven't had a fishing license in 20 years. So, and it's kind of hard to claim you're going to go fishing if you're walking through a shopping mall or a restaurant. So, but yeah, these cities, now, if they don't like the laws, they don't agree with the immigration laws, then get them changed, but follow the laws until that point.
Now I recognize the ranking member, Conley, for his 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mayor Wu, I quoted Tom Homan, the so-called border czar, saying that he wanted to bring hell. He was bringing hell to the city of Boston. What did you understand him to mean by that?
Let's talk about Tom Homan. Shame on him for lying about my city, for having the nerve to insult our police commissioner who has overseen the safest, Boston's been in anyone's lifetime. Bring him here under oath and let's ask him some questions. I am here to make sure that the city of Boston.
Remember, this is the same woman that just the other day I talked about. Man with a knife threatening people was killed by a off-duty police officer in a Chick-fil-A. And her and the police commissioner immediately afterwards expressed sympathy and condolences for the family of that man with the knife. And it wasn't until the next day or the day after that that they had anything to say about the police officer or the individuals that had been threatened by the knife, by the man with the knife, by the attacker. But they had all kinds of sympathy and condolences for the family of him.
Is safe. Others may want to bring hell. We are here to bring peace to cities everywhere.
Mayor Johnston of Denver, what would your reaction be if Tom Homan wants to bring hell to your city, Denver?
We think that.
Now remember, Denver is the one that had apartment complexes. No, Aurora, just outside Denver, had apartment complexes taken over by gangs of illegals out of Venezuela. Exactly, Fury. You're exactly right. That's what she did.
We have folks in Denver who are working hard, playing by the rules, paying taxes. There is no one that is seeking hell to come to Denver. What people are looking for is opportunity and hope.
And for the record, he can do whatever he wants to do, I guess. But the fact of the matter is you absorbed on a per capita basis the largest immigration a year or two ago. And you indicated that your crime rate actually fell. It didn't increase. Is that correct?
That is correct. Crime is down in Denver. We have homicides down 17%. Violent shootings are down 24%.
And in Boston, I'm sorry, I've got limited time. Mayor Wu, same thing in Boston. The Boston crime rate has been falling, correct?
We had 24 homicides last year, 24 too many, but that represented a tremendous reduction, one of the biggest drops anywhere in the country.
Thank you. So the correlation between immigration and crime is false, as you point out, Mr. Beer. Perhaps you can elaborate that.
Now, illegal immigration. Why do you guys on the left continually forget to use that word illegal immigration? Legal immigration is wonderful. The people that do it correctly, get the passports, get the visas, get the proper type of visa. Now, I don't know. Obviously, there's some of these visas I think are abused, like the HB1 visa. But they're abused by corporations to bring in people legally so they can pay them less than what they would pay an American citizen worker. But the people come to the country legally. And when they come to the country legally, they are going to commit more likely to commit less crime. It's the illegals that come in the country that from the moment they enter the country illegally, they are committing a crime every day that they are in this country illegally. Or the ones that came in on a visa, then overstayed their visas by weeks, months, years, sometimes even decades. Those are the criminals. And they're the ones who are going to commit the crimes, particularly the ones who enter the country illegally from places like Venezuela.
I find it ironic that you characterized correctly, in my view, President Trump and Tom Homan's approach to immigration as lawless when they're invoking law and order and crime as the rationale for their lawlessness. Could you expand on the lawlessness and the irony of the fact that, as you point out in your testimony, the crime rate among immigrants is half that of the native population?
That's right. I have a table in my written testimony that you can look at. Top 20 cities for immigration court filings over the last 4 years. 19 of those cities saw a decline in their homicide rate. If you look at all of the major cities, there is a negative correlation between.
Now remember, these cities that are reporting these crimes, they no longer are required to report all crime. They can report whatever crime they want to report. So when you use these FBI stats, most of these cities are not reporting all the crime that happens in their cities. So these stats are thrown out now. This was a change made by the Biden administration. You can't trust these crime reports, crime stats anymore, because the bulk of them don't report. A lot of these cities, like Chicago, like Boston, don't report all the crime that happens in their cities.
Between increasing numbers of immigrants and the homicide rate. So that means more immigrants, lower homicide rates. That holds true across the United States. So
Again, are you talking about legal immigrants or illegal immigrants there, Mr. Cato?
I think the correlation that's trying to be made is more immigrants, more illegal immigrants, more chaos, more crime. That does not hold. What we do see under this administration is an increasing willingness to ignore the laws. He has, as I mentioned, signed an executive order that says he can ignore due process rights for people who are accused of being in the country illegally. This is an incredibly dangerous assertion of authority and should be investigated by Congress.
And is it a reasonable proposition for a local leader? I know I was chairman of my county, which is like being mayor of a large county. And, we focused on local law enforcement. We tried to help the feds when we could. We were cooperative where we could be. But our job was local law enforcement. And there is a clash when ICE behaves this way, and I described some horrible incidents. It instills fear in the immigrant community, and it fosters non-cooperation rather than cooperation, which is the mandate of each of these leaders.
If you guys would not allow illegals to live in your cities, then there wouldn't be a clash between federal law enforcement, such as ICE, and your local immigrant communities, legal immigrant communities. But you allow illegals to live there and to own businesses there. People who did not enter the country legally. If you would take care of that, there wouldn't be the problem.
Is it not?
Absolutely. We want cooperation. Many of these cities are the reason why immigrants are more likely to cooperate and report crimes to the police than the U.S. born population is. So there are good reasons to limit this mass deportation of people in their communities.
I would just argue.
If they're here illegally, they need to be deported because they're breaking our laws. Would you allow, Mr. Breyer, would you allow somebody just to move into your house? No. You would want to deport them from your home.
Argue that the premise of this hearing is false. We have local law enforcement cooperating with the local political leadership, and it's working. It's bringing down crime rates. And the proposition that immigrants cause crime is false. In fact, patently false, as your testimony, I think, would demonstrate, Mr. Beer. And the idea that these are sanctuary cities that need to be punished is simply a war on urban America. And I'm proud of the mayors who are in front of us here today, and I thank them for their testimony, and I thank them for their service to their local communities. I relate to it, and I think it's a noble calling. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Mike Johnston, I hope we could start off on a level field of agreement here. So in your testimony, you said that locals were asking Denver, what will you do? When they saw 10 to 11 buses coming in a day and 42,000 illegal aliens entering their city. Denver, what will you do? And in a Fox 31 interview in January, you blamed state law for not allowing the city of Denver to coordinate with ICE, resulting in Denver being a sanctuary city, saying, quote, the whole state is bound by our state law in this, which is pretty consistent in some of these practices, like everywhere in the state. We don't honor ICE detainers, end quote. I've demanded Governor Jared Polis and the Colorado State Legislature to repeal them. Douglas County has led on a lawsuit to get those laws repealed. So, Mr. Mayor, would you join me today in calling and demanding that these sanctuary policies, these Colorado state laws, be repealed?
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Yes or no, Mr. Mayor?
Pardon?
Yes or no? Will you join me?
I do not believe the detainer law needs to be changed. So I can tell you what Denver
Okay, so
does
you
right now.
don't want them to coordinate with ICE, but yet you're blaming the state of Colorado for those policies. It's a statewide law. It's not a Denver law. And you're blaming the state of Colorado for the law, yet you will not call for that law to be repealed. Correct? Yes or no?
We do coordinate with ICE presently. I'm happy to tell you what we do on that. So we've honored detainer requests more than 1,200.
How about answering the question that she asked? Yes or no? Plain and simple there, buddy. Answer the question. Will you or will you not? Yes or no? Ah! Now I gotta go through this damn Adobe again. All because I misclicked. I'm sorry.
Democratic mayors of Boston, Chicago, Denver, and New York testified
that you will not demand be repealed ordinance from your city. And then crime was going up from Trinidad Aragua gangs vandalizing. Who spoke with federal immigration authorities would be fired.
With the local political leadership.
We don't honor ICE detainers, end quote. I've demanded Governor Jared Polis and the Colorado State Legislature to repeal them. Douglas County has led on a lawsuit to get those laws repealed. So, Mr. Mayor, would you join me today in calling and demanding that these sanctuary policies, these Colorado state laws, be repealed?
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Yes or no, Mr. Mayor?
Pardon?
Yes or no? Will you join me?
I do not believe the detainer law needs to be changed. So I can tell you what Denver
Okay, so
does
you
right now.
don't want them to coordinate with ICE, but yet you're blaming the state of Colorado for those policies. It's a statewide law. It's not a Denver law. And you're blaming the state of Colorado for the law, yet you will not call for that law to be repealed. Correct? Yes or no?
We do coordinate with ICE presently. I'm happy to tell you what we do on that. So we've honored detainer requests more than 1,226 times over the last
What about
years.
before? What about before a warrant? There are many issues before a warrant.
So if what happens is if ICE has sends us a detainer request,
Well, you have local law enforcement officers, Mr. Mayor, who are unable to coordinate with ICE to even get the initial warrant. They aren't allowed to tell them that they are illegal aliens. So unfortunately, you won't join me in asking for this law, demanding that this law be repealed. So let's keep going. In 2017, Denver passed an ordinance that ensured any city employee who spoke with federal immigration authorities would be fired, among other policies that have led to local and national media outlets to call Denver a sanctuary city. So now let me ask you, would a city employee be fired for communicating with anyone from the EPA?
Right now, Congresswoman, our policy is we don't ask people's status. when
Would
they come
any
into
city
contact with
employee be
any-
fired for communicating and coordinating, talking with an agent from the EPA, a federal employee?
Not to my knowledge, Congresswoman.
What about Health and Human Services? Would they get fired for talking with someone from Health and Human Services?
Not to my knowledge, Congresswoman.
So they would only be fired for talking to federal law enforcement officers.
No, that's incorrect, Congresswoman.
This is
Our
an ordinance
city employees do, in
Denver
fact,
passed in 2017, Mr. Mayor.
our city employees do in fact communicate with ICE. We do coordinate on multiple things with ICE. For instance, if there is a violent criminal warrant in the city, we
No,
pursue that
we're
warrant
talking
together.
before the warrants, Mr. Mayor. There are issues happening before warrants are issued, and local law enforcement officers are unable to coordinate because there is no warrant. And your ordinance says that a city employee would be fired for communicating with federal law enforcement. So you've been mayor for 600 days. Have you ever called for that ordinance to be repealed?
We are not unable to coordinate with ICE right now. We're in communication with ICE right now.
Only if
about-
there is a warrant, but I'm talking prior to the warrant.
We wouldn't have a reason to coordinate.
Because you
prior
don't know
to
if they're
warrant.
illegal, because you are unable to coordinate until there is a warrant. So that's why this ordinance needs to be repealed. So now the 600 days, there's been no time to ask for this to be repealed. You did have a newcomer's playbook, 25 pages. You had time to put that together. And you had time to agree with the city council to authorize up to $2 million to pay Joe Biden's former lawyer, his law firm, to help cover your ass for Denver's sanctuary city policies for this hearing, correct?
Thank you, Congresswoman. We have counsel.
Did you
to
authorize
support-
that spending?
We have counsel to support this committee's investigation into any documents you may have. That is a year-long contract for the 13,000 city employees.
And your budget
you may
is
request documents from.
seriously declining. Denver Magazine reported that Denver has spent $7.5 million on shipping illegal aliens to other destinations. Mayor Adams, did Mayor Johnston ever coordinate with you and tell you that he was shipping illegal aliens to your city?
We coordinated in communication around the entire asylum seeker issue in our cities.
So I've heard that Denver crime went down. Well, Aurora's crime went up because you were also shipping them to Aurora. And we have documentation that I don't have time to discuss here in this hearing that proves you were shipping illegal aliens to Aurora. Their crime was increasing while you were hiding under laws that you will not demand.
Wow, I was not aware of that. And remember, Aurora is the one that had the apartment complexes taken over by the gangs of illegals. No wonder Denver's crime went down, because they shipped them all over the place. Hey, morning, Ramen. What a bunch of nonsense. The mayors are shipping their criminals to other cities. Okay, that makes sense. Now remember, every one of these cities here, particularly Chicago and New York, they never had a problem with illegals until Texas, Governor Abbott got the brilliant idea, which I 100% agreed with. And DeSantis did some also. I think DeSantis did it first, but he hasn't done as many as Abbott has. The illegals come across his border. He had them sign waivers and put them on buses and send them to New York, send them to Chicago, send them to Washington, D.C., to an area close to where Kamala, there at the Naval Observatory. I believe he sent some to Nancy Pelosi's district. So Governor Abbott of Texas was sending illegals, and then all of a sudden, Adams, oh my God, we've got an illegal problem. We can't house them all. When they weren't getting but a tenth of what Texas was getting.
And be repealed. Ordinance from your city and then crime was going up from Trinidad gangs vandalizing apartment owners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I hope that we can get this
We have a
resolved in
5-minute
Colorado.
rule, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Chair recognizes Ms. Norton from Washington, D.C.
There have been a lot of talk today about these cities and their, in my view, principal decision not to respond to extrajudicial ICE detainers. But I would like to back up and talk about these detainers, what these detainers really are. Requests from ICE to unconstitutionally hold someone without due process or probable cause. Enforcing ICE detainers is also expensive, often results in mistakenly holding U.S. citizens and undermines public safety. It diverts resources from protecting the local community to carry out the federal government's job of immigrant enforcement. Mayor Johnston, what challenges do ICE detainers represent to your law enforcement and city resources?
Thank you, Congresswoman. I think that was to me, right? Sometimes I
That's
get
correct.
confused. Okay. Thank you, Congresswoman. I think it's important. I appreciate to describe what Denver currently does in terms of what coordination looks like and what it doesn't, which is if we get a detainer request, if we have someone in our custody that ICE would like to get access to, what we do is we provide them a notification of release. And so if that person will be released from our custody, we notify them of the time and the date when they will be released. So ICE, if they choose to, could pick that person up. We have done that 1,226 times over the last 7 years. And that has enabled ICE, when they choose to be able to bring someone into custody. What we do not do is hold someone beyond their release date, because there are multiple courts who have found that to be unconstitutional. If someone is serving a sentence and that sentence expires this Friday, we can't hold them another 7 days without an additional charge.
And how much notification are you giving ICE that somebody's being released? Are you giving them 24 hours notice? Are you giving them 48 hours notice? Are you giving that week's notice? How much notice are you giving ICE that you're going to release somebody who they've got a detainer out on because they're here illegally? Now, if you're giving them a week's notice and they don't show up, that's one thing. But if you give them 24 hours notice, they don't have to, that doesn't give them time to get somebody there. And by the way, good morning, B Token. I saw you pop in there. Oh, that's the way to do it, Fury. Send the illegals to the people. Which would I prefer, prior notice or exportation? Well, see, Denver will not deport anybody. If Denver's got somebody sitting in their jail and their sentence is up, they escort them to the door and hand them their bag of clothes or whatever, their bag of possessions, and say, open up the door and say, have a good life. The cities themselves don't deport anybody. That's why they're supposed, in my opinion, they should be giving ICE as much notice as possible, because they know when they're going to be releasing somebody. Most of the time, they know exactly when they're going to be releasing someone. So why they hold up and wait until 24 hours prior to notify ICE that they're releasing people, I don't know. But that's what they've done on occasion, not all the time, but on occasion in the past.
charge. And so that is what state law does. And sheriffs around the state would say it is a strain on local resources to hold them for a civil issue that is not linked to a criminal charge that we have in our city or another jurisdiction. That's why we don't honor those types of detainers.
Mayor,
You know, I just had thought just popped across my mind. You know, he said civil issue. All right. Why don't we upgrade illegal immigration to a criminal, not civil, but a criminal? If you enter our country illegally, it's a crime. It's not a civil crime, but it is. You know, I mean, it's an actual crime. Make it a misdemeanor with a deportation or 90-day prison stay the first time, then deportation. You got your choice. You can be immediately deported upon conviction, or spend 90 days in jail and then deported on first offense. Second offense is 6 months. Third offense is 2 years. And, you know, still deportation. You got a choice, immediate deportation or prison. But get it out of this mess of being a possibility of being just a civil infraction. Therefore, the cities don't need to do it.
Johnson, how about for Chicago?
So thank you for that question. And for Chicago, again, our top priority with the Welcoming City Ordinance is to ensure maximum safety. The type of coordination that happens between our local law enforcement and our communities is paramount to building trust and keeping our communities safe. The ordinance, as well as the state law, the Illinois Trust Act, which was passed with bipartisan support and signed by the Republican governor, Bruce Rauner, we do not permit our local law enforcement from engaging in any federal matters. With a criminal warrant, our city and our state will cooperate with the federal government, but without a criminal warrant, our local law enforcement focuses in on local issues to keep the people of Chicago safe.
Mayor Wu, how would fulfilling ICE detainers detract from public safety in your city?
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't understand. An ICE detainer simply means that they are going to hold the man for whatever given length of time, the man or woman, for whatever given length of time, so that ICE has a chance to get there. If that person is being held in confinement, there's a 100% chance they cannot commit a crime. So 100% chance they cannot commit a crime if they're being held in confinement. Whereas it's a unknown percent chance of them committing a crime if they're not, beyond the crime that they're already committing of being in the country illegally.
Congresswoman, for hosting us, first of all, in your district. We hear every day from Boston residents, a city that is 28% people who were born in another country, that the trust and feeling that they know they can call 911 when they need help, or if they have information to solve a crime and police need that help, that they feel comfortable in doing so. And so our policy in Boston is that regardless of your background or immigration status, you have access to our libraries. We want you to take your kids to school. We want you to be part of our community. And also, regardless of immigration status, if you commit a crime, if you do harm in the community, you will be held accountable.
Okay, you just lied. You just lied. If they are in the country illegally, they have committed a crime. But you're not doing anything to help punish them for committing that crime. So you just lied, plain and simple. You just lied under oath. You may not consider it a crime that they're in the country illegally. They're just looking to improve their lives. They're just looking for a way to help their families. They're just looking for a better way. But they came into the country illegally. I could go into your house and steal from your home, and my excuse be, oh, I'm just trying to improve my lot in life. Anybody that steals is stealing to improve their lot in life. Be it they're stealing the apple off the grocery cart, or they're stealing $100,000 out of the bank account. They're attempting to improve their lot in life. And yet we punish them. When they cross our border illegally, they have committed a crime. Regardless of the reasons why, they still committed a crime in doing it.
It is critical to the safety of Americans that cities have the ability to decide what is in the best interest of their people. Mayors and local enforcement know their cities best.
To hear a Democrat say that is outrageous. Simply outrageous. To hear a Democrat say that it's up to the cities to do what's best for their people is outrageous, considering how the Democrats push for a strong federal government and a weak and almost non-existent state and local governments. That is absolutely asinine to hear those words being spoken by a Democrat.
I would yield any time remaining to the ranking member.
I just want to underscore what the gentlelady has said. Local government knows best how local law enforcement works, and cooperating with ICE.
I didn't catch this the first time, but you see, he's still wearing a freaking mask. Remember, it was the Democrats that pushed to shut down the country. It's the Democrats that said it was okay to go out and riot and protest, but you couldn't go to church. It was the Democrats that said you couldn't visit your ailing grandmother, but it was okay to be in a riot or in a protest. And they made it nationwide. They tried to make it nationwide. Remember how pissed off they got at Florida and DeSantis when he opened the state up? So to hear Connolly here endorse this idea that local and state governments know best is a freaking joke.
ICE is part of that, but they can't be a substitute for ICE doing its own job, which is a federal responsibility. Thank you for yielding.
Before I recognize Mr. Jordan, I believe Ms. Boebert has a unanimous consent.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit to the record multiple local news articles referencing Denver's sanctuary policies, including the newcomers playbook written by Mayor Adams and the budget, which shows millions and millions of dollars of the Denver city budget cut.
Without objection, so ordered. Chair now recognizes Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Johnston, who
Okay, I'm sorry, Fury. What's that? What was this accord they tried to agree to? Was it the Moen Accords, which the states would disenfranchise their members? Oh, yeah. Where they're trying to get rid of the electoral college, and the states would give up, regardless of how their people voted, would give their electoral college votes to whichever candidate won the popular vote. So yeah, that's what I believe that's what you're talking about there, Fury. And could you imagine California? You know, Trump won the electoral college or the popular vote. Could you imagine California's people going absolutely ape nuts if their electoral votes would have, those 54 votes would have had to go to Trump? Oh my God. Right there, this last election should be enough to squash this idea of states giving their electoral college votes over to whoever won the popular vote. Because it's all liberal states doing it. It's all left-wing states pushing this. And this ought to stop them. Maybe if we get one or two more votes, national elections like that, maybe those states will rescind that stupid ass plan of theirs.
who's Abraham Gonzalez?
Thank you, Congressman. He is a individual that was released from the county jail on Friday in the city and county of Denver.
That's all you know about him?
I do know that he was facing charges that the
Venezuelan gang member arrested by Border Patrol on September 20th, 2023, released into the country by the Biden administration. A few months later, he's arrested in your city, charged with aggravated assault. On March 11th, 2024, he's charged with motor vehicle theft, stole a car. And then on March 20th, 2024, Mr. Gonzalez is charged with felony menacing. 6 days after that last charge, I send you a detainer, which includes an administrative warrant. Basically, it says if you're going to release this bad guy, this gang member who allegedly stole a car, menaced people, and assaulted people, give us a 48-hour heads up. Is that right? That refresh your memory?
I do know about the detainer request. I do know that we provided a notification of release.
What kind of notice did you give ICE when you released him?
We gave him notification. I'm not sure how long in advance it was. I do know that.
1 hour.
I do know that there was
1 hour notice, and you released him 5 days ago, right? Why not give him more heads up? Actually, let's put the slide up. Let's see what it says here. But let's put the slide up. This is what the Denver Sheriff's Department, it's kind of hard to see, so I'll read it. It says Denver Sheriff Department ICE notification being released to the streets. I simply said, we want just release him to us. You release him to the streets. Why not release him to ICE?
Thank you. What we've done, and we do this regularly, we've done 1,226 of these, is we notify
I'm
ICE.
asking about one. I'm not asking about the 1,200. I'm asking about Mr. Abraham Gonzalez, who's a gang member from Venezuela, stole a car, assaulted someone. You had him in your custody for how long?
I know that we released
345 days you had him in custody. And I said, hey, can you give us 48 hours heads up?
I don't know.
You gave him 1 hour notice.
Mr. Congressman, we notified them of release. There were 6 ICE agents present when he was released, so they had enough time to respond and to be present.
Respond where?
To the jail where we released him from. So we released him we notified them of the release time. When we notify them of release, they come to the jail facility to pick them up. They're
Why
still
didn't you
on.
say, that's not what you said. You said you release him to the streets. Did you release him to the streets or release him to ICE?
What we do, sir, is we release him from our county jail and we coordinate with ICE on that release time and release date so that ICE can come and pick them up from that location.
Pick them up where? In the parking lot?
Yes, sir. They're on the facility
Guess
property.
what happened in the parking lot?
I know, sir. I've reviewed the video. So I looked at it. I've talked to the sheriff last night.
One of the ICE officers got assaulted, didn't he?
I reviewed the video,
They had
sir.
to tase the guy, didn't they?
Would you like me to answer, sir?
No, I'd like you to answer. Did they tase him?
I know that there were 6 officers that had multiple tasers. I saw the
So they
detention
had
on
6
video.
officers. If you keep him in the facility and they come in the facility and get him, does it take 6 officers? Probably takes 2, doesn't it?
So we've been doing these, as I mentioned, 1,224 times, 1,226 times. This is the first time I've been made aware of there's been an incident like this. So I reached out to ICE after I saw the video. I've coordinated with their team and offered to sit down and see if there are procedures we can change.
It's a simple
make sure
question.
this works smoothly.
It's a simple question. You can release him in the parking lot, give ICE 1 hour notice, and they got to send 6 officers to arrest this guy. Or you can say, hey, what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold him. You come in and bring 2 officers in, and you turn him over there. Why not do it that way?
We have a city
You
ordinance.
know why you don't do it that way?
We have a city ordinance that
Because you're a
governs.
sanctuary city. This is the whole point.
No, sir, I disagree with you.
Oh, okay.
Because I'll tell you why. If you talk about sanctuary as a definition of shielding people from law enforcement, we do not do that. What we do is provide services. In this context, what we did is we coordinated the
An
release.
officer got assaulted because of your policy, which says we're going to release him to, in your words, not mine, to the streets. They have to arrest him in the parking lot. They bring 6 officers when they could have had 1 or 2 just come in your facility, in the jail, and take the guy there. But you won't do it that way.
I've seen the video. I've reached out to ICE.
care if you've
I've
seen the
offered to
video. I
sit
know the
down and
facts
coordinate
too.
on strategies. If we need to make adjustments to what we do on releases, we'll do that. This is the first.
Unfreaking believable. They had this guy in jail. They give him 1 hour notice. 1 hour. That is unbelievable. 1 hour notice. You know, and here I thought I was being harsh in saying they're giving him 24-hour notice. They gave him 1 hour notice on this illegal that they'd had in jail for almost a year. And then they let the guy go out the doors into the streets rather than doing a turnover inside the jail. Let him take cuffs off, do it inside the jail. What do? They set the guy out. Rather than take one set of cuffs on, put the next set of cuffs on. They uncuff him and let him go out the doors, and then let ICE handle it out in the parking lot. Unfreaking believable. Do you find it wrong if I charge the government a 14-inch seafood pizza to find an illegal? What is a seafood pizza there, Fury? Now, I do have to say, though, as much as like Jim Jordan, he does not give these guys a chance to answer.
Time in the 1,226 releases.
You know, I
I've
read
written
your
incident, so we'll
written
take
testimony
action.
last night. I read your written testimony last night. 4.5 pages. And you used the word safe, safer, or safety 13 times. Talking about my job is to protect the safety of the people in Denver. We prioritizing making sure everyone in our community is safe. That's a lie. Because it was not safer for the ICE agents who are part of your community. No way was it safer. The safest thing to do is to say, ICE, we got him in custody. Come here, we're releasing. We held him 345 days. We can't hold him a second longer. We can't wait for you to come inside the building. We got to let him go, so you have to arrest him in the parking lot. That is how stupid sanctuary policies are and what they mean to the community that you put at risk and to the ICE officers ICE officer who was assaulted. And they had to use a taser on them. It's not good.
Mr. Chairman,
Time, Mr. Chairman,
5 minutes is up.
consent request.
Gentlemen's time's expired. Chair recognizes Mr. Lynch from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member Conley. I want to thank the panelists for your willingness to come before the committee and help us with our work. You know, I truly believe that if we had a rational and comprehensive immigration policy in this country,
Oh my God. To them, a rational and comprehensive immigration policy is one that allows everybody in. Why not just enforce the laws that we have on the books right now? Just enforce the laws, Democrats. Why can't you do that?
If we competently regulated the flow of immigration, if we knew the purpose and circumstances of each immigrant's arrival here, and if every immigrant knew what was expected of them when they arrived, I honestly and truly,
If they followed the laws, if you guys would follow the laws, if you Democrats would follow the laws that are on the books, that people would know what is expected. A very good friend of mine, his wife had to immigrate into the United States. They followed the laws and got her immigrated into the United States. And in 2.5, 3 years, she completed everything. It only took a couple years. She completed everything she needed to complete to become a U.S. citizen. Following the laws on the books. It's laid out what you need to do to enter the country because the laws are on the books. But you guys don't want to allow the laws on the books to work as they're written. You want to allow mass immigration instead of controlled immigration. And I got my own thoughts as to why you want to allow mass immigration, Mr. Lynch.
believe that immigration could be the greatest blessing for our country. Look at our world rivals, China and Russia. No one is trying to sneak into China, sneak into Russia. It's because of what we offer here as a nation. There is a substantive issue that's at play here, and I want to address that. So under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4 of the Constitution, it provides Congress, and I'll read the section here, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. And Clause 18 further
Which we have.
provides that Congress has the power to make all laws that shall be necessary and proper to execute its enumerated powers, including immigration. So,
Which the laws are already on the books, passed by the House, passed by the Senate, signed by the President. The laws already exist.
it appears that Congress has taken up that responsibility in the Immigration and Nationality Act, which they exercise under constitutional writ. On the other hand, we have local so-called sanctuary city laws that at times, so those sanctuary cities laws tend to address local cooperation with federal authorities in your jurisdictions, within your cities. And sometimes it does appear that the sanctuary city laws are defending against the congressional grant of authority to operate in that area. Now, you all, as mayors, and I ask this of the entire panel, you deal with this every single day, and we've heard some of it in your testimony eloquently. How do we, as lawmakers, we're struggling with this right now. There's a tension between that authority of Congress to act under Article 1 of the Constitution, and then your responsibility, nobly taken, to provide a safe environment for the residents and visitors to your cities. How do we reconcile, and I'm asking you for advice. You have a great perspective on this. how do we together reconcile the tension between those two operating systems, grants of power? And I'd welcome any advice you have on that, because that's what we are struggling with up here in terms of trying to come up with a comprehensive immigration policy that addresses all of these concerns. Mayor Johnson?
Congressman, I'm happy to start the response. We obviously believe there is a federal system that has federal obligations and state and local obligations. We think, as Mayor Wu said, that our officers are uniquely prepared, trained, and ready to enforce local law and to keep our city safe. We want to focus on that. We do not have the capacity for our law enforcement to be doing federal immigration enforcement, but we want to be partners in making sure we're pulling violent criminals off the street. We do that now. We've done it in the past. We'll keep doing it. But we think the capacity for the federal government to focus on.
But what I'm trying to point at is this. So the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, rode into office on this issue. On this issue. He put people in fear. I'm in a state that's 24.
The only people he put in fear are those who are in the country illegally. Those are the only ones he have put in fear. And those hiding them, put them in fear, possibly being arrested and charged with harboring an illegal alien.
400 miles from the border. We're going to spend $1.5 billion on providing services and housing and everything to people who are in our state unlawfully. He got into office on that issue. So the costs to democracy are massive. It is now threatened.
There's no cost to democracy here. How is there a cost to democracy by saying that we are not going to allow illegals to be in our country? We are not going to allow illegals to vote in our country. How is that a cost to democracy? If anything, that is protecting quote unquote democracy by saying that those who are not citizens, those who should not be here, are not allowed to be here. All right? I mean, it's that simple.
Our democracy because we have mishandled this issue. So we need to get together on this and turn immigration, like I say, into the greatest blessing that this country has, and not something that people are afraid of. That's the challenge.
May I, Congressman?
Please.
This may be the last
my
blue.
friend.
This may be the last blue dress I'm wearing this month. It's going to be green from here on out as we celebrate Irish American heritage back at home. Please pass comprehensive immigration law that is consistent and compassionate. That will make our jobs possible, and we would so appreciate that partnership.
I hear you. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes.
Chair, I have a unanimous consent request.
I didn't. I'm sorry.
I'll have unanimous consent request.
All right. Proceed.
Okay, I'd like to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record thousands of DHS agents shift to deportation instead of drugs, weapons, and human trafficking. That is February 2025 USA Today.
Without
Oh, you mean like when they had thousands of Border Patrol agents shifted to making sandwiches for illegals rather than out capturing illegals? Come on, Presley.
Objection to ordered.
Parents pull kids from childcare as immigration fears hit U.S. youngest.
Without objection to ordered. Chair.
Finally, an 11-year-old girl in Texas died by suicide after she was bullied about her family's immigration status, her mother says.
Without objection to ordered. Chair recognizes Dr. Gosar from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Wu, I'll be showing up at your house tomorrow with my bags at 5 o'clock. Leave your doors unlocked, please. What are you making for dinner? Because I expect a warm meal and a balanced diet. Now, I'm going to need a car, and please leave me some cash because I'm going to need to go to my doctor's appointment on Friday. That would be to Mr. Mayor Johnson. Now, I don't want to sleep on the couch, so put me up at a luxury hotel. The other Mary Johnson. Obviously, you wouldn't like this because you don't know me, right? You know nothing about me. You might not like that. Sanctuary cities offer this kind of hope, this false hope to illegal aliens by saying that very thing. Stay with me. We don't tell anybody that you break our laws. Now, thank you. You've made the United States complicit and one of the largest purveyors of human trafficking in the world. Thank you. You're disgracing the legal immigration system that came here and the immigrants that came here the right way through Ellis Island at the time, now through our going through our process. And I want to talk about that process because I've always been told, and it's never been really challenged, is that good process builds good policy, builds good politics. I think that works really, really good because you can always fall back to the process. If the process isn't good, you always get a good process. Now you heard the word establishing trust, okay? How can you establish trust at the very beginning when you have a false narrative here? You're defending folks who have broken the law. The definition I've always looked at is trust is a series of promises kept. What kind of trust are you supporting here? What is the trust of an illegal alien? It's a false hope. It's a false trust. Welcome. We're bringing you in. It's disorganized process. Now, let me ask you a question. Mayor Adams, did you support SB 1070?
I'm sorry,
Did you support the Arizona law called SB 1070?
I'm not familiar with it, sir.
Well, let me explain, okay?
Mm-hmm.
SB 1070 challenged the federal government on its supremacy clause because we in Arizona wanted the government wasn't doing anything, so we thought we'll do this. We can't allow them to break laws. The Supreme Court ruled that struck it down. Now, it seems contraindicating here that you would have supported SB.
Oh, yeah. Very good point here. Good point. Arizona wanted to, and it's time and time again, Arizona, Texas, Florida. The federal government isn't doing the job. So let us do our job and do what we're supposed to do. Because remember, and I've brought this up before, California, when you enter California, depending on what road you're using, they've got immigration points. You've got to stop and allow your vehicles to be searched. And it's been upheld by the Supreme Court because of possible damage to their fruits and agricultural. If the state of California can stop you from coming in on when you're coming in from Arizona or any other state driving, why can't a state stop somebody coming across the international border? But that was struck down by the Supreme Court under the supremacy because immigration is a federal job, federal issue.
1070, right, Mary Adams? Based on the premise that you or would you violate the supremacy clause in regards to immigration?
Would I
violate the supremacy clause?
This is way over my head.
Okay.
I felt law.
That's
you know.
Mayor Johnson, would you have supported SB 1070, allowing Arizona to follow their own laws? Because that's what you're doing right here.
Thank you, Congressman. We currently follow all federal law, all state law, and all local law. So we do not have any supremacy clause challenges that we're pursuing or maintaining.
Okay. Well, it seems like you are, but Mr. Johnson, do you agree?
The city of Chicago complies with all laws.
Okay. Mayor Wu.
I'm not familiar with that law because I'm focused on the city of Boston, but we follow all state, city, and federal laws in Boston.
Bullshit. All four of you just sat there and lied when you say you that you don't care about illegal immigration. All four of you just sat there in front and lied to everybody. Unfreaking believable. Yeah, what do you mean states' rights? Prayers and thought.
What happens when you get in conflict with them? Who do you support?
The Constitution, as I understand it, doesn't require cities or police officers or anyone to follow their laws in conflict, follow federal laws in conflict with local laws or state laws.
Okay, in the Constitution, it says, and it's explicit that the federal government has jurisdiction and supremacy over all immigration laws, right? I mean, I heard it a number of times from my colleagues over here. We're the ones who can define that. We're the ones that have it. We just heard we want a comprehensive immigration policy. How can you get a comprehensive immigration policy when you're defining it from the very get-go? You're building it on false premises and false tenets.
Respectfully, Congressman, you could pass bipartisan legislation, and that would be comprehensive immigration law.
What
The
would you
false
have?
narrative is that immigrants in general are criminals, or immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger and harm. That is actually what is undermining safety in our communities. If you wanted to make us safe, pass gun reforms. Stop cutting Medicaid. Stop cutting cancer research. Stop cutting funds for veterans.
And none of that is happening, you lying bitch. None of that is happening. We're not going to pass more gun laws because of the Second Amendment. They're not cutting. I am a veteran. They are not cutting veterans. They are not cutting Medicaid. They are cutting fraud out of Medicaid. Ask Sunny Hostin about her husband over there at The View. Ask Sunny Hostin about that, about going after fraud, because her husband, a doctor, has been implicated. And I think he's got 90 some odd charges pending against him for Medicare fraud. But no, we're not cutting benefits, legal, legitimate benefits to anybody. So stop lying.
That is what will make our city safe.
Yes, thank you. I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Krishnamurti from Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor Johnson, there's been much talk about Chicago and its enforcement of laws to rid our communities of criminals. So I want to give you a chance to address some of these questions. First, Mayor Johnson, the city of Chicago operates under 4 sets of laws: federal, state, county, and of course, Chicago's own laws, right?
That is correct.
And most of these laws are not within Chicago's sole power to change. For example, the Illinois Trust Act, a state law, was enacted in 2017 by then Republican Governor Bruce Rauner and dictates interactions between ICE and law enforcement, right?
That is correct.
And under Chicago's own law, I have a copy of it right here. Chicago is required to help ICE whenever ICE presents a judicial criminal warrant for an arrest, correct?
Yes.
In fact, Chicago has assisted ICE with criminal warrants in the past, right?
Yes.
So just to clear it up, anytime that ICE does the work and goes to a court to get a criminal warrant to arrest somebody, the city of Chicago not only is required to, but does cooperate to remove that criminal from our community, right?
That is correct.
Let me turn to another topic. President Trump has said many things about Chicago, including that it is, I have this NBC News report, worse than Afghanistan. Mayor, I'd suggest that facts suggest otherwise. For example, Condé Nast recently named Chicago the best big city in America 8 years in a row.
A friendly amendment, best freaking city in the world, city of Chicago.
Chicago's the largest rail hub in America.
That is correct.
Chicago's a quantum technology hub in this country.
$20 billion new investment.
Chicago area is the home to the second most number of Fortune 500 headquarters of any city in America, right?
Just voted again the top relocator for corporate headquarters for 13 consecutive years.
And it's home to O'Hare Airport, the most interconnected airport on the continent. Is that right?
That is correct.
That doesn't sound like Afghanistan to me, sir, does it?
The city of Chicago is a beautiful place. We also have 20% of the world's fresh water right in our front yard. Our restaurants are amazing. In fact, everything that is dope about America comes from Chicago.
A Republican named Lincoln was nominated for president in Chicago, and a Democrat named Obama called Chicago home too. It's the city of big shoulders, the heart of the heartland, the home to the world's best pizza. And we're not going to take any slander from Donald Trump or anyone else lying down. Is that right?
That is correct.
Sir, I want to turn your attention to another topic. Mayor Johnson, you'd agree with me that high grocery prices are among the top concerns for the people of Chicago, right?
The economic conditions that are unfortunately that are not being addressed by Washington has caused a great deal of trepidation and anxiety.
After 4 years of the Biden administration, 45 days of the Trump administration, and all of a sudden you're concerned about it when the Biden administration has had 4 years of it? Come on, Johnson.
Mayor Wu, according to USDA, the wholesale cost of a dozen eggs has gone from $6.59 since January 19th when Donald Trump took office to $8.39, a 27% increase. And this has got to anger Bostonians, right?
People are doing their very best, trying their hardest, working multiple jobs, and they need support.
Mayor Johnston, I suppose that people in Denver are concerned as well, right?
A very concerned. This is the most important issue for us, is how we make sure that it's affordable to live in the city.
Mayor Adams, the same is true for New Yorkers.
Affordability is an issue that's impacting our city, and that's why we're doing the best we can to put $30 billion back in the pockets of working class people.
President Trump, if you're watching this hearing, I respectfully ask, when will egg costs be high enough for you to issue one executive order on bird flu? $10 a carton, $15 a carton. It'll soon be cheaper to buy a magazine for an AK-47 than to buy breakfast. This is flat out wrong. Turn to my last topic. Interestingly, last night.
Wow. Wow. Tying bird flu, which has caused this, but because of the health department, the ag department rather, which has destroyed millions of chickens, which is why the price of eggs have gone up. All it takes is one, what is it? If my memory serves me correct, all it takes is a couple of instances of birds being, chickens being diagnosed with the bird flu, and the entire flock has to be destroyed. The entire flock. The ag department, which is has caused the death of millions of chickens, which is going to cause the price of eggs to go up. Wow. Chicago pizza is sloppy lasagna on toast. Man, I had that MRI last week. I still hate that thing. I'm gonna let one more Republican have his say, and then I've got to go.
In a record-long address, the president did not mention the word Medicaid once, which is top of mind for everyone. Mayor Johnson, you don't dispute that 1.6 million people in Cook County are enrolled in Medicaid, right?
I do not dispute that. In fact, in most of our safety net hospitals, 70% of the individuals that are being serviced are being serviced through Medicaid.
I recently received outreach from Lurie Children's, a preeminent children's hospital located in Chicago. They said, quote, slashing Medicaid will put access to care for all children in our state at
We're
risk.
not slashing
You'd
Medicaid.
agree that's
Stop
unacceptable.
lying.
That is unacceptable.
It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're white, black, brown, poor, or rich, massive cuts to Medicaid will devastate our healthcare system. Thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognize Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mayors, thanks for being here, leaving your cities to come to Washington, D.C. today. By either definition or by claim, each of you, I think, could justifiably say represent what's considered a sanctuary city. If you could describe it, what would you, sanctuary from what? Anybody? Mayor Johnson, you want to start? Mayor
Yeah,
Johnston?
thank you, Congressman. I welcome that because I wanted to clarify. We do not shield people from federal.
I just asked
We
you
do not
what,
provide
so
sanctuary.
you don't consider yourself a sanctuary city?
We provide services and supports.
Do
We
you
not provide
consider yourself
sanctuary.
a sanctuary city? That's just,
We do not under that definition.
you don't use the definition, you're not a sanctuary.
We call ourselves a welcoming city. We
Okay,
provide
so what are you welcoming and who are you not welcoming?
Well, we're welcoming everybody.
Okay.
We don't keep folks.
So you're welcoming criminals that you don't have any idea what their crime background is, and you're good with that?
No, we aggressively pursue.
How do you do
violent
that?
criminals
No,
anyway.
no, how do you vet the people that you welcome in your sanctuary city?
Sir, we don't vet folks that arrive from Illinois or California with a background check when they come into the Denver airport any more than someone from another
So
location.
you're welcoming any illegal immigrant or illegal alien to your city without question?
Well, folks that make the decision to come to Denver, they arrive and then we expect.
But
them to
you
get a
call
job,
them, you
pay
welcome
taxes.
them. You welcome them. You call them to your city and say, if you come here, you will be safe from what?
Thank you, sir. We don't call anyone to our city. Folks that arrive in our city, we offer same access to services they may need to be successful. And if they break the law, we hold them accountable, we charge them, we prosecute them.
What about if they've already broken the law?
Well, if they've already broken the law and there is another jurisdiction that has a warrant for that person, they let us know and we would cooperate to transfer them to that jurisdiction.
I think we saw in Mr. Jordan's conversation with you that you really don't do that. Mayor Johnson, how about you? How many, according to my records, you have welcomed 51,648 illegal aliens to your sanctuary city. So I'd ask you, sanctuary from what?
If you're referring to the number of individuals that were bused from Governor Abbott without any coordination, the 52,000 individuals that were seeking asylum, those individuals were bused to us.
Yeah, people that you said are welcome. Welcome to your country. Welcome to our country. We shouldn't have borders. Because they weren't hitting your border until Abbott started sending them to you.
I passed a bus ordinance to work to coordinate with the governor of Texas. He refused to do that. But that transfer of individuals was the result of the governor of Texas, not the result of a welcoming city ordinance.
Welcoming city ordinance. So you're not welcoming these people that came here illegally?
The individuals that were bused to us from the border. From
They were
Governor
not
Abbott.
welcome in Chicago? You didn't welcome them? You didn't provide them sanctuary?
So the welcoming city ordinance is pretty straightforward. It allows for our local law enforcement to focus on local policies, and that's why we're seeing a decline in violence.
So you
in the
don't
city of
care
Chicago.
about federal law enforcement policies, only local policies.
We comply with all laws. What I do care about is this body, Washington, passing comprehensive immigration.
So let me ask you this. Chicago residents reported 28,443 violent crimes during 2024 alone. Cases of aggravated assault rising to the highest level in 2 decades. Now, also, state funds, $160 million were issued to illegal alien job assistance shelters in Chicago. You're the mayor of Chicago. Do you think that your residents or the residents of your state should be paying for that more than they should be paying for their own needs, their own roads, their own public safety? I mean, who elected you? The people that came illegally, whether they were sent to you or not, or the people that reside in Chicago? Who elected you? And who do you serve?
The people of Chicago elected me as the 57th mayor of the city of Chicago, and we serve all the residents of the city of Chicago.
Illegal or not, criminal or not? How many of the 662,566 illegal
Well, he's
aliens
got
with
the
criminal
numbers.
histories that ICE has reported are now residing in Chicago?
Someone will have to get back with you with that number.
Do you
I don't
take
keep account
do you
of.
take immigration information from criminals as they're arrested and processed? Do you take immigration information?
Our local law enforcement focuses on getting
Do you
all
take,
violent
do you
individuals off the
determine
streets
whether
of
they're here
Chicago.
legally, what their immigration status is as a function of your justice
Gentlemen,
system?
time's expired, but please feel free to answer the question, Mayor.
The Welcome in City ordinance ensures that our local residents communicate and trust local law enforcement to ensure that criminals and crime is being addressed.
So
And
you
that's
have
why
no
violent
idea how many
crime
are illegal.
has
Thank
gone
you,
down
Mr.
in the
Chairman.
city
I'll
of
yield.
Chicago. Thank you very much,
Chair now
Mr.
recognizes
Chairman, I have a
Mr.
unanimous
Khanna.
consent request.
Chair now
Mr.
recognizes.
Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request.
I'm sorry, Ms. Presley.
I have a unanimous consent request.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record. Mass deportations would deliver a catastrophic blow to the U.S. economy.
That's
This
an
is from the
opinion
Joint
piece.
Economic Committee, December 2024.
From where? What publication?
The Joint Economic Committee, December 2024.
Without objection, so ordered.
I'd like to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record from the American Immigration Council, October 2024. Mass deportation, devastating cost to America, its budget and economy.
Without objection, so ordered. Chair recognizes Mr. Khanna from California.
All right, I'm going to have to stop this here. Now, gerrymandering, where did gerrymandering came long before then? It was actually named after somebody, if I remember correctly. It started in Massachusetts. The term, it was 1812. Gerrymandering, Boston
When you
Gazette
look at
ran a
this
political
picture,
cartoon.
what do you see?
Let me
A
stop
disoriented
this.
seahorse?
The fork-tongued creature, okay, gerrymander. Let's see here. A new species, the gerrymander, fork-tongued creature is shaped like a voting district. Jeffersonian Republicans had drawn to benefit their own party. Governor and future Vice President Eldridge Jerry signed off on his, okay, that's it. Governor Eldridge Jerry signed off on his party's redistricting plan in February, cementing his place in the United States lexicon of underhanded political tricks. So, there we go. Started off in Massachusetts in 1812. So let's see here. Let me copy that and I will post that for you if you want to read it. But anyhow, let's see. I am at, let's see here, an hour and 30 minutes. So let's see. This is Thursday, damn it. So I'll have to pick this up. I'll probably have to do a second stream tomorrow if I want to cover the rest of this. But what I'll probably do tomorrow is I'll jump to the highlighted portions where there's some real friction. Okay, guys. Rather than doing the whole thing, because this is several portions to this. But anyway, everyone, y'all all have a good day now. Enjoy yourselves. Give us a song style and X and a potential subject for funsies. Okay, a song style and a subject, potential subject. Ooh. If I were to give a song style and I really wanted to make it rough, I would say go back to the Wandering Minstrels of the 1600s. Yeah, I'd say go back to the Wandering Minstrels of the 1600s. There, Fury. If I wanted to make it a little tough, but keep it within your lexicon, I go the Wandering Minstrels of the 1600s. All right. So everybody, y'all have a good one. Enjoy yourselves. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, Ramen will be feeling better. And everybody, enjoy yourselves. Be with the ones you love, but love the ones that you're with. Bye, all.